a look at the toolkit with me, and if Pat's able to get her audio working again, you'll be able to go there. You can look at this yourself, but I can walk you through it so that you can actually find materials so that you can do a charrette yourself, including the DQP materials, the charrette model, and a step-by-step process for going through a charrette, feedback forms, guidelines, questions for reflection and conversation. I'm just going to open that up and see what we get. There you can actually think about how to put together an assignment and reflect on what you're doing. Seems like a very good thing. So this is a resource that we were really thinking that you could explore. You can see I've gone back. Are you seeing the main page to the DQP? Or if those of you who are with me here, Dan, can you see that I've got back to the main toolkit page? You're seeing that? Okay. You can actually see that they've worked with some of the disciplinary associations on some of the work from the AHA. I don't know, Dan, you want to say something about that since you're here?
Yeah, I'd look at some of these links with the AHA. We had a group of about 40 faculty that came to this event. And well, it was quite a learning experience, both for the faculty that volunteered assignments and those who were there to help coordinate the project. But if you want some practical hints on how to run one of these events, look through those AHA links. I don't think any of these suggestions are all that specific to the study of history itself. Mm-hmm. These are suggestions that point to the charrette as a peer review process, something that's new to almost all of us. This is the first time that the AHA had an event like this. And I think of all these suggestions, the ones under AHA might be some of the most practical and immediate.
Mm-hmm. It would be great if we had some other disciplines that we could point to. I think that would be really helpful.
I hope one day the National Communications Association decides to try this at one of their events.
Okay. That would be really great too. I know that they would be interested in doing it. The idea here is that we can't necessarily always find the funding to do those charrette meetings, but we want to be able to reach out to a lot of people with new ways of aligning work that's focused, that's learning centered, and that uses genuine assessment. And that is the idea behind building this toolkit. And then the next question is, can we use, say, a venue like this one to point people to it so that you'll actually know it's there and can go home and do something? Or can we do kind of train the trainer work to help people? Yeah, Dan?
I'm a big fan of this idea of giving suggestions to colleagues around the country on how to work your own charrette. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, I think there's something wonderful that happens when you gather colleagues from a wide variety of institutions. I think you learn a bit more about the varieties of students, student needs, the types of institutional goals that have been set up. Just plunging into that diverse world of higher education, especially through a national conference in your field, opens up doors that you
Mm-hmm.
You might not have entry to if you're just speaking to colleagues in your own institution. Both are wonderful. This set of resources is probably going to be of tremendous use to colleagues around the U.S. But don't lose sight of what can be gained from a larger scale session that brings in people from a variety of campuses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, I guess the question is whether we can use online venues like this to help us to do that, to come up with ideas. And I don't know. I mean, I guess jury is kind of still out on that. But I'd be very interested to know what others of you think about that. I think what I'll do is stop the share and come back so we are just seeing the videos and those of you who are on with audio. And
Susan, this is Peter. I think that this venue would be very promising. I think it would have to be very carefully scripted.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what we would need to do is to have very clear assignments and not assignments, but very clear things for people to do, and it would to be tightly scripted. But I think it could work.
Yeah.
I think it also, when we do the live charrettes, we divide people. It's an artificial thing, but we divide them by discipline groupings, broad discipline groupings, and I think that makes sense too. I would always take the math and science table, but if you had some things that looked like that, I think it would make some sense to do it.
Yeah, and we could. There's no reason that we couldn't figure out something that's discipline based and go for it. I suspect that we could probably recruit some people from California. There are several of them here through the Threshold Project, which is very closely related work. And maybe we could do something like that. I guess I could pick on Deborah David or Ken. Let me unmute you, Deborah.
Well, this is exactly the kind of thing that we're considering as ways to use Zoom or another platform to have live assignment. I don't know whether they'd be charrettes or something similar that would be interactive. And the idea of grouping people by disciplines or meta majors is a strategy that we've used with the Threshold Project that I think would be workable.
You want to say a word or two about the Threshold Project?
I could say a little bit about it. It's an interdisciplinary, intersegmental project between the California Community Colleges Success Network, otherwise known as 3CSN, which is the professional learning arm. They don't talk about faculty development. They talk about professional learning, assuming that faculty don't need to be developed, but we all could use learning. And it's been a process of trying to work through the threshold concepts are concepts that are unique to disciplines, but difficult for people to understand, for students to learn. And once they learn them, though, it's hard to see the world without the lens of those concepts. And let's see, what else do I want to say about that? And we're trying to figure out ways to help students be apprenticed through the process of grasping disciplinary threshold concepts. So,
right. And you could imagine an assignment like the one that Nina just shared with us as a kind of threshold concept assignment.
mm-hmm.
Certainly in the humanities, I think.
Well, and it seems like the concept of civic engagement, or might be a concept that she's trying to communicate in the through the assignment. I don't know.
Yeah. So your idea is to try to use an online venue like this,
mm-hmm.
and you could pick a threshold concept. I gather the concept of limits in math is a threshold concept, right? That's a pretty good example. A tough thing to learn, sort of like metaphor, really, really hard. And then looking for assignments that help students to grasp those, historiography and history. And then sharing with people from across the state some ideas about how they might help students to go across the threshold, which of course changes them, for the rest of their lives.
And I don't know whether we pre-identify threshold concepts or maybe just identify one as an example and then invite participants to identify some other concepts that their own students struggle with.
That's really good. I want to just take a look at a couple of items that came in on the chat, and then we can wrap up. But I just wanted to give you a chance to give some feedback. Here's from someone: our faculty really liked hearing their perspectives of faculty from other disciplines when we did charrettes this spring. So I think that idea for a campus-based charrette is a really, really excellent idea, but you did that across disciplines. Townsend, I'd have to look up the first name of the person named Townsend who submitted that. But the idea of doing a kind of charrette across departments seems like a good thing, as well as doing it across disciplines. And any thoughts about that, you can jump in. Otherwise, I want to look at something that John Savagian said. You could use this venue to prepare people to get ready for live meetings. So you could really hit the ground running. If you were able, I guess as Peter Yule said, to script the assignment, to get people together to look at something, and then get to know each other a little bit, and you're more likely to get up to speed when you finally do get together, whether it's an AAC&U meeting or a statewide conference. That might be a good thing too. And then finally, the idea of sharing assignments like this, a charrette type idea, is a great way to invite people to take the risk of collaboration and actually enjoy it. And I think that's important for us to encourage people to do. I think that's important for AAC&U to do and for NILOA to do. The collaboration comes from the kind of trust that you build when you put yourself out there bravely and say, here's my assignment, or here's my syllabus. I've taken some steps to align it with some big national frameworks. I'm okay about that. It's scaffolded. What do you think about it? Give me some feedback. It does take a certain amount of bravery, but people find they enjoy it, and then they want to continue working together. And that's something that we would really like to encourage through the work we're doing. Yeah, Dan.
Just to follow up on a theme that the AAC&U and others have made so often, especially this past year, this movement that we're all engaged in, from my course to our curriculum, this more collective sense of putting together the work for student learning. I think this kind of project breaks one of the major obstacles to collaborative work among faculty, because of how often a faculty member keeps assignments as some kind of private and sheltered possession.
Right.
And we don't share these as often as we should with others. Here's a way to break that down. We're talking about how an individual course assignment of ours fits in with a department's larger goals, with a discipline's larger goals.